The flickering glow of a laptop screen cast eerie shadows across Mia's bedroom. It was past midnight, and the house was silent except for the faint hum of her computer and the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards. Mia, a 17-year-old with a knack for uncovering obscure corners of the internet, had stumbled upon a YouTube video titled 3 Scary Squid Game Horror Stories Animated. The thumbnail showed a menacing red soldier mask with glowing eyes, and despite the late hour, curiosity got the better of her. She clicked play, unaware that this decision would pull her into a nightmare she couldn't escape. The video began with a distorted version of the Squid Game theme, its notes warped into something unsettling. A gravelly voice narrated, "These are not just stories. Watch at your own risk." Mia smirked, thinking it was just YouTube clickbait. She'd seen plenty of horror animations before, creepypastas, jump-scare compilations, nothing that ever fazed her. But as the first story unfolded, something felt off. The animation depicted a young man named Ethan, who received a mysterious text with a single image, a pink business card with a circle, triangle, and square. The narrator's voice dropped to a whisper, describing how Ethan, desperate for cash after losing his job, followed the card's instructions to a warehouse on the edge of town. Inside, he found himself in a real-life Squid Game, but not the polished version from the show. The games were grotesque, the players' screams muffled by masks that fused to their faces. The red soldiers weren't human. They moved too stiffly, their eyes glowing faintly red through their masks. Ethan survived the first game, a twisted version of red light, green light, where the dolls had turned 360 degrees, its glass eyes scanning for the slightest movement. Those caught didn't just lose, they vanished, leaving only a smear of blood on the floor. Mia shifted uncomfortably in her chair. The animation was crude, almost too realistic in its depiction of fear. The comments were disabled, and the channel, called GameMaster_X, had only this one video, uploaded hours ago with barely any views. She glanced at her phone, tempted to text her friend Leo about it, but the second story was already starting. This one followed a woman named Clara, a single mother who found the same pink card slipped under her apartment door. The narrator's voice grew colder as it described Clara's descent into the game. She was forced to play a version of tug-of-war, but the rope was lined with razor wire, and the pit below wasn't just a fall. It was a churning void that pulsed with an unnatural light. Clara's team won, but the cost was horrific. Her hands were shredded, and her teammates' faces were blank, as if their souls had been erased. The red soldiers watched silently, their masks seeming to smile. The animation lingered on Clara's trembling hands, blood dripping in slow motion, and Mia felt a chill crawl up her spine. She paused the video, her heart racing. "This is too much," she muttered, but her finger hovered over the play button. She had to know what happened next. The third story was about a teenager named Sam, who found the card in his backpack after school. Unlike the others, Sam didn't need money. He was just bored, craving something to break the monotony of his small town. The game he entered was a maze, its walls shifting and closing in, lined with mirrors that reflected not his face but distorted, eyeless versions of himself. The narrator's voice became almost mocking, saying, "Sam thought he could outsmart the game, but the game knows you better than you know yourself." The red soldiers didn't just guard the maze, they whispered Sam's deepest fears, their voices echoing inside his skull. The animation showed Sam running, his reflection twisting into something monstrous, and then static. The screen glitched, and for a split second, Mia thought she saw her own face in the reflection on her monitor. She slammed her laptop shut, her breath shallow. Just a video, she told herself, but her room felt wrong now, the shadows too sharp, the silence too heavy. She grabbed her phone to call Leo, but a notification popped up, a new message from an unknown number. It was a single image, a pink card with a circle, triangle, and square. Her stomach dropped. "No way," she whispered, deleting the message. But her phone buzzed again. Another message, same image, but this time with text, "You watched. Now you play." Mia's heart pounded as she blocked the number, but the messages kept coming, each one identical. She turned off her phone, but the laptop flickered back on by itself, the video resuming where it left off. The narrator's voice was different now, lower, more personal, like it was speaking directly to her. "Mia," it said, "you can't pause the game." She froze, her name echoing in the empty house. The screen showed the maze from Sam's story, but now it was her running through it, her animated face pale and terrified. The red soldiers turned toward the screen, their glowing eyes locking onto hers. She yanked the laptop's power cord, but the screen stayed on, the battery icon pulsing like a heartbeat. The room grew colder, and the floorboards creaked behind her. She spun around, but no one was there. Her phone buzzed again, now on the floor where she dropped it, the screen glowing with the same pink card. A knock came at her window, slow, deliberate. She didn't dare look. Instead, she grabbed her jacket and bolted for the door, determined to get to Leo's house, to anywhere but here. As she ran down the streetlights flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to move on their own. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, and against her better judgment, she glanced at it. The screen showed a live feed, not from her camera but from somewhere else, somewhere dark. It was her, running, filmed from above. A voice whispered through the speaker, "Green light." Mia kept running, her breath ragged, the world around her feeling less real with every step. The street signs were wrong, the houses unfamiliar, as if her town had been rearranged. She reached Leo's house, pounding on the door, but no one answered. The porch light flickered, and in its brief glow, she saw it, a pink card tucked into the doorframe, its symbols gleaming faintly. She backed away, her mind racing. Was this still a game, or had it never been one to begin with? Somewhere in the distance, a doll's voice sang. Red light, green light. Mia's grip on Leo's hand tightened as the doll's eerie chant of green light echoed through the vast concrete room. The floor vibrated beneath their feet, and the glowing symbols, circle, triangle, square, pulsed like heartbeats under each player. The air was thick with tension, the other players' faces etched with fear as they inched forward, eyes locked on the towering wooden doll at the far end. Its glass eyes glinted under the harsh lights, and its head twitched slightly, as if it could sense their every move. "Red light," the doll sang, its voice sharp and mechanical. Mia froze, her muscles screaming from the effort to stay still. Leo's hand trembled in hers, and she could hear his shallow breaths. A man to their left, older and sweating profusely, wobbled slightly. A spotlight snapped onto him, and before he could scream, the floor beneath him vanished. He dropped out of sight, leaving only a faint echo of his cry. The other players gasped but didn't dare move. Mia's heart pounded so loudly she was sure the doll could hear it. "Green light," the doll continued, oblivious to the loss. Mia and Leo shuffled forward, staying close. "How are you here?" Mia whispered, her voice barely audible over the doll's song. "I was trying to get to your house when this happened." Leo's eyes darted to her, wide with confusion. "I don't know. I was at home, watching some random video on my phone, and then boom, I'm here. There was this card, pink, with those symbols." He trailed off as the doll's head twitched again. "Red light." They froze again, and Mia's eyes scanned the room. The walls seemed closer now, the concrete rippling like water in a heat wave. The other players, maybe a dozen left, stood rigid, their faces pale under the flickering lights. Some were muttering to themselves, others trembling so hard Mia could see it from across the room. The glowing symbols on the floor pulsed faster, and her phone, still clutched in her free hand, buzzed softly. She risked a glance. The screen showed player 237, survived the round. 1 minute and 30 seconds, a timer again. But for what? Green light. The doll's voice was faster now, the rhythm unpredictable. Mia and Leo moved, their steps careful but quick. The safe zone, a glowing platform at the far end of the room, just past the doll, was closer now, maybe 50 feet away. But the floor felt unstable, like it could give way at any moment. A girl to their right tripped, catching herself just as the doll sang. Red light. The spotlight hit her, and she froze, tears streaming down her face. The floor didn't open, but a low hum filled the air, and the girl's symbol flickered out. She collapsed, motionless, her eyes open but blank. The other players didn't look, couldn't look. "Mia," Leo whispered, his voice urgent. "This isn't just a game. It's like the video you told me about. The one you were watching." Mia's stomach twisted. "You think this is connected to that YouTube video? 3 scary Squid Game horror stories." She hadn't told him about it, not yet. How did he know? Leo's face paled. "I saw it too. Not the whole thing, just the thumbnail. It popped up on my feed right before I blacked out and ended up here. It's like it pulled us in." Before Mia could respond, the doll's voice boomed. "Green light." They moved again, faster now. The safe zone so close she could see its edges glowing brighter. But the room was changing. The walls shimmered, and faint outlines of doors appeared, each marked with a single symbol: circle, triangle, square. The other players noticed too, some veering toward the doors instead of the safe zone. A boy, no older than 12, sprinted for a door with a circle. He touched it, and the door dissolved, swallowing him in a flash of light. No one knew if he'd escaped or been taken somewhere worse. Red light. The doll's head spun, its eyes scanning. A woman screamed as the spotlight hit her, and the floor opened, pulling her down. Mia's phone buzzed again. 45 seconds. The timer was relentless. She pulled Leo toward the safe zone, her legs burning. "We stick together," she hissed.
"No doors."
"Not yet." They reached the safe zone just as the doll sang. Green light, game over. The remaining players, only 7 now, stood panting on the glowing platform. The doll's head tilted, its wooden smile unnervingly wide. "Congratulations, players," it said, its voice dripping with mock cheer. "You have passed the first round, but the game is far from over." The screen above flickered, showing a new message: "Choose your door. Circle. Triangle. Square." The concrete walls rumbled, and the doors became solid, their symbols glowing faintly. Mia's phone buzzed, displaying the same message, but now it included a map, a crude, shifting diagram of tunnels and rooms, each path branching from one of the 3 doors. The other players whispered nervously, some already moving toward the doors. A man with a scarred face approached the triangle door, his hands shaking. He glanced back at Mia and Leo, his eyes hollow. "You don't choose, it chooses for you," he muttered before stepping through. The door vanished behind him. Mia looked at Leo, her mind racing. "What do we do?" The video, it warned about the games knowing us. Like it's personal. Her phone buzzed again, and the screen showed a single word: circle. She showed it to Leo, who nodded, his jaw tight. "I got the same thing," he said, holding up his phone. "Circle. But I don't trust it. What if it's a trap?" Before they could decide, the safe zone's glow flickered, and the floor shook. The doll's voice returned, colder now. "Choose. Or be chosen." The remaining players scrambled, some running for the square door, others for the triangle. Mia and Leo locked eyes, a silent agreement passing between them. They ran for the circle door, its pink glow pulsing like a warning. As they stepped through, the world dissolved into blinding light, and the air grew heavy, like they were underwater. When the light faded, they stood in a new room, smaller and lined with mirrors. Their reflections stared back, but something was wrong. Their eyes were too wide, their faces too pale, almost distorted. The floor was covered in tiles, each marked with a circle, triangle, or square, arranged in a chaotic pattern. A new timer appeared on Mia's phone. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The mirrors shimmered, and faint whispers filled the room, not from the red soldiers, but from the reflections themselves. "Mia," one whispered. "Leo," said another. The voices overlapped, growing louder, mocking. A screen flickered to life on the far wall, showing the doll again, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. "Welcome to the second game," it said. "Step carefully. The wrong choice ends you." The tiles on the floor glowed faintly, some pulsing red, others green. Mia took a cautious step onto a green circle tile, and it held. Leo followed, his face tense. But behind them, another player, a girl with braided hair, stepped on a red triangle. The tile flashed, and the mirrors around her warped, pulling her reflection into a twisted, screaming version of herself. She collapsed, her body still but her reflection still moving, trapped in the glass. Mia grabbed Leo's arm. "We need to figure out the pattern," she whispered. "The video. It's like it's controlling this. If we can understand it, maybe we can get out." Leo nodded, his eyes scanning the tiles. "The symbols, they're not random. Look." He pointed to a sequence of green tiles forming a path. Circle, circle, triangle, square. "It's repeating, like a code." They moved together, stepping only on the green tiles in the pattern Leo spotted. The whispers grew louder, the mirrors showing glimpses of their own fears. Mia's parents, Leo's little sister, faces distorted and pleading. Mia's phone buzzed, the timer now at 7 minutes and 12 seconds. The room felt smaller, the mirrors closer, the air thicker. They were halfway across when a new voice broke through, not from the mirrors but from above, soft and chilling. "You can't outsmart the game. Player 237. Mia froze, her eyes meeting Leo's. The doll's face on the screen grinned wider, its eyes glowing red. The tiles ahead shifted, the pattern changing. The game wasn't just testing them, it was adapting, watching, waiting for them to fail. Mia's breath hitched as the tiles beneath her and Leo shifted, the green path they'd been following morphing into a chaotic jumble of glowing symbols. The mirrors surrounding them pulsed with an unnatural light, their reflections twisting into grotesque versions of themselves, eyes too large, mouths stretched into silent screams. The doll's voice echoed from the screen above, its tone mocking. "The game knows you, player 237. It knows you, player 412. Leo's number." Mia's heart raced as she realized the game wasn't just adapting, it was personal, targeting their every move, their every fear. The timer on her phone ticked down, 5 minutes and 47 seconds. The air in the mirrored room grew colder, the whispers from the reflections growing into a deafening chorus of their names. "Mia, Leo, you can't escape." She squeezed Leo's hand, grounding herself. "We need to keep moving," she whispered, her voice barely steady. "There's a pattern. There has to be." Leo's eyes darted across the tiles, his brow furrowed. "It's not just the symbols," he said, pointing to the mirrors. "Look at the reflections. They're showing us something." Mia followed his gaze. In one mirror, her reflection stood on a green circle tile, but in another, it was on a red triangle, her face contorted in pain. The reflections weren't just distorted. They were guiding them, or maybe misleading them. "Test it," Mia said, her voice urgent. She stepped onto a green circle tile, mimicking the reflection that looked calm. The tile held, glowing brighter. Leo followed, stepping on a green triangle. The floor stayed solid, but the mirror shivered, and a low rumble shook the room. The whispers turned sharp, like static cutting through their minds. "Wrong," they hissed. "Wrong choice." The timer dropped to 4 minutes and 22 seconds. Mia's pulse pounded in her ears. "The reflections are lying," she said, her voice shaking. "Some of them, at least. We can't trust them all." She scanned the mirrors, noticing subtle differences. One reflection showed her holding Leo's hand, another showed her alone, her face bloodied. "We stick to the pattern we saw before. Circle, circle, triangle, square." Leo nodded, his jaw tight. They moved together, stepping carefully on the sequence of green tiles. The mirrors screamed, their reflections warping further, showing glimpses of their lives. Mia's bedroom, Leo's backyard, moments that felt too real, too private. One mirror showed the diner where Mia had fled, but now it was empty, the pink card glowing on the counter. Another showed the YouTube video still playing on her laptop, the narrator's voice looping. "You watched. Now you play." The tiles led them to the center of the room, where a single glowing platform stood, marked with all 3 symbols, circle, triangle, square, intertwined. The timer read 2 minutes and 59 seconds. The other players, scattered across the room, were struggling. A man stepped on a red square, and the mirrors around him shattered, the shards floating in the air before pulling him into the glass. His scream cut off abruptly, and the mirrors reformed, pristine. Only 5 players remained, including Mia and Leo. "We're almost there," Leo whispered, his voice hoarse. They stepped onto the platform together, and the room went silent. The mirrors dimmed, the whispers fading to a low hum. The screen flickered, and the doll's face reappeared, its wooden smile wider than ever. "Well done, players," it said, its voice dripping with false praise. "You've reached the checkpoint." But the game never stops. The platform glowed brighter, and the floor beneath it shifted, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. Mia's phone buzzed, displaying a new message: "Choose your ally. Trust is your only weapon." The other 3 players, a teenage girl with wide eyes, a man with a nervous twitch, and an older woman clutching a tattered scarf, stared at Mia and Leo, their faces a mix of fear and suspicion. The doll's voice returned. "One ally. One path. Choose now, or the game chooses for you." Mia's eyes met Leo's. They'd made it this far together, but the game's words echoed in her mind. Trust is your only weapon. Could she trust him completely? The mirrors flickered, showing flashes of Leo's reflection turning away, abandoning her. She shook her head, pushing the doubt away. "It's you," she said firmly. "We stick together." Leo nodded, relief flashing across his face. "You and me, Mia." They turned to the staircase, but the other players hesitated. The teenage girl stepped forward, her voice trembling. I choose you too. Please, let me come with you." The man and the older woman exchanged glances, then backed away, choosing each other instead. The doll's laughter filled the room, low and chilling. Choices made. Descend. Mia, Leo, and the girl, whose name, they learned, was Sarah, stepped onto the staircase. The platform sealed above them, plunging them into darkness, lit only by faint pink lights embedded in the walls. The stairs spiraled deeper, the air growing damp and heavy with the scent of earth and metal. Mia's phone buzzed again, the timer reset to 10 minutes. The screen showed a new game, Trust Fall. The rules were simple but terrifying. Follow the path. Trust your ally. Betray and you fall. The staircase ended in a narrow tunnel, its walls lined with more mirrors. But these mirrors didn't show their reflections, they showed other players, trapped in different games. One showed a man running from a collapsing bridge, another a woman dodging blades in a spinning room. Sarah whimpered, clutching Mia's arm. "I saw that card too," she whispered. "On my phone. I clicked the video and then I was here." Mia's stomach twisted. The YouTube video was the key, the thread connecting them all.
But how? And why?
Before she could ask, the tunnel split into 3 paths, each marked with a symbol: circle, triangle, square. The mirrors beside each path flickered, showing glimpses of what lay ahead: mazes, traps, shadowy figures in red soldier masks. Mia's phone buzzed, displaying circle again. Leo's and Sarah's phones showed the same. "Another trap?" Leo asked, his voice low. "Maybe," Mia said, studying the mirrors. One showed her falling into darkness, another showed Leo pulling her up. Sarah's reflection was blank, her face missing.
"But we don't have a choice.
We go together." They stepped into the circle path, the tunnel narrowing around them. The mirrors whispered again, but now the voices were familiar. Mia's mom, Leo's sister, Sarah's best friend, begging them to turn back. The path sloped downward, the floor slick with something that glistened like oil. Mia's phone timer ticked down, 8 minutes and 13 seconds. Ahead, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. A single rope bridge stretched across a chasm, swaying gently. On the other side, a glowing platform pulsed with the intertwined symbols. The doll's voice echoed, "No screen needed now. Trust fall. Cross the bridge. Only one may lead. The others must follow blind." Mia's phone buzzed, displaying a new instruction: Choose the leader. The leader sees. The followers trust. The bridge creaked, and the chasm below shimmered with an unnatural light, like the void from the video's second story. Mia looked at Leo and Sarah. "I'll lead," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "You two, hold on to me. Don't look down." Leo nodded, but Sarah hesitated, her eyes darting to the mirrors. "They're lying," Mia said firmly. "Don't listen to them." Sarah swallowed hard and nodded. Mia took the first step onto the bridge, the ropes groaning under her weight. Leo followed, one hand on her shoulder, Sarah behind him. The mirrors screamed, showing visions of the bridge snapping, of Leo pushing Mia, of Sarah falling. The timer ticked down, 6 minutes and 45 seconds. The chasm pulsed below, its light drawing Mia's gaze, but she forced her eyes forward.
Trust.
She had to trust. Halfway across, the bridge swayed violently, and Sarah gasped. "It's not real," Mia shouted, gripping the ropes. "Keep moving." But the whispers grew louder, and the mirrors showed a new image. The YouTube video paused on the narrator's face, a face that wasn't animated but real, its eyes glowing red, watching them. The rope bridge swayed under Mia's feet, the creaking ropes and the pulsing light from the chasm below making every step feel like a gamble. Her phone, clutched tightly in her hand, showed the timer ticking down, 5 minutes and 12 seconds. The mirrors lining the tunnel walls screamed with warped images, her own face, Leo's, Sarah's, all twisted into expressions of betrayal and fear. The narrator's face from the YouTube video lingered in one mirror, its glowing red eyes tracking her every move, its voice whispering through the air, "Trust is fragile, player 237. One misstep and you all fall." Mia's heart pounded, but she forced herself to focus on the glowing platform at the far end of the bridge. "Keep going," she called back to Leo and Sarah, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Leo's grip on her shoulder was firm, but Sarah's breathing was ragged, her steps faltering. "Don't look at the mirrors, Sarah," Mia said, glancing back. Sarah's face was pale, her eyes darting to the reflections, where her own image now showed her letting go of Leo, her hands reaching for something unseen. "I'm trying," Sarah whimpered, her voice barely audible over the creaking bridge and the whispers. "But it's like they're inside my head." The bridge lurched again and Mia's phone buzzed, the screen flashing a new message. The leader must choose. Sacrifice or trust. The word sent a chill down her spine. She tightened her grip on the ropes, her eyes fixed on the platform, now only 20 feet away. But the chasm below pulsed brighter, its light casting shadows that moved like hands reaching up. The mirrors showed a new vision. Mia standing alone on the platform, Leo and Sarah gone, their reflections trapped in the glass, screaming. "Shut it out," Leo said, his voice low but urgent. "It's the game, Mia. It's trying to break us." He squeezed her shoulder, grounding her. She nodded, taking another step, the bridge groaning under their combined weight. The timer read 4 minutes and 3 seconds. They were running out of time. As they neared the platform, the bridge stabilized, but the whispers grew louder, now forming words that cut deeper. "You'll fail them, Mia," they hissed. "You'll fail like you always do." She saw flashes of her life, arguments with her parents, moments she'd let friends down, regrets she'd buried deep. The game wasn't just testing her courage, it was digging into her soul. Sarah's voice broke through, trembling. "Mia, I don't think I can do this." She stopped moving, her hand slipping from Leo's. Mia turned, her heart lurching as she saw Sarah staring at a mirror. In it, Sarah's reflection held a pink card, its symbols glowing. "It's telling me to go back," Sarah whispered. "It says I can leave if I let go." "No," Mia snapped, stepping back toward her, the bridge swaying dangerously. "Sarah, it's a lie. The game wants to split us up. We're stronger together." She reached out, grabbing Sarah's wrist. The girl's eyes were wide, tears streaming down her face, but she nodded, letting Mia pull her forward. The timer hit 2 minutes and 55 seconds. The platform was close now, its glow almost blinding. But as they took another step, the ropes on one side of the bridge snapped, the structure tilting violently. Mia screamed, grabbing the remaining ropes as Leo and Sarah clung to her. The chasm below roared, the light now a swirling vortex of pink and red, like the void from the video's second story. The mirrors laughed, the narrator's voice joining them. Choose, player 237. Trust or sacrifice. Mia's mind raced. The game was pushing her to make an impossible choice, save herself or risk everything for Leo and Sarah. She looked back at them, their faces lit by the eerie glow. Leo's eyes were steady, trusting her. Sarah's were terrified, but she was holding on. "We're not sacrificing anyone," Mia said, her voice fierce. "We all make it." She took a deep breath and led them forward, step by agonizing step, the bridge buckling beneath them. The timer dropped to 1 minute and 30 seconds. The mirrors showed new images, Leo falling, Sarah vanishing, Mia alone. She ignored them, her focus locked on the platform. With a final push, they stumbled onto the glowing surface, the bridge collapsing behind them with a deafening crack. The chasm's light dimmed, and the mirrors went silent. The platform hummed beneath their feet, the intertwined symbols, circle, triangle, square, pulsing softly. Mia's phone buzzed, the timer frozen at 1 second. The screen flashed, trust fall, complete. Prepare for the next game. The doll's face appeared on a screen above, its wooden smile unnervingly calm. "Well done, players," it said. "You chose trust. But can you keep it?" The platform shuddered, and the floor opened, revealing a new tunnel. This one was different. Its walls were smooth, almost organic, with faint pink veins running through them, like the inside of a living thing. The air was warm, humid, and smelled faintly of copper. Mia, Leo, and Sarah exchanged glances, their breaths heavy. "We're still in this," Leo said, his voice low. "Whatever it is." Sarah nodded, her fear giving way to determination. "That video, it's doing this. It's like it's alive." Mia's phone buzzed again, showing a new game, hide and seek. The rules were chillingly simple. 1 hides. 2 seek. Find the truth, or lose yourself. The tunnel split into 3 paths again, each marked with a symbol. But this time, the mirrors were gone, replaced by shadows that moved just out of sight, their shapes vaguely human, wearing red soldier masks. "We stick together," Mia said, her voice firm but her hand shaking. "No splitting up, no matter what the game says." Leo and Sarah nodded, but the doll's voice echoed through the tunnel, cold and mocking. "Hide, player 237. Seek, players 412 and 189. The game begins now." The tunnel lights flickered, and the shadows moved closer, their red eyes glowing faintly. Mia's phone buzzed, showing a new timer, 15 minutes. The shadows whispered her name, and one stepped forward, its mask gleaming. "Hide," it rasped, pointing to the circle path. Mia's heart sank. The game was trying to separate them again. She grabbed Leo and Sarah's hands. "We're not playing by their rules," she said. "We go together or not at all." They ran for the circle path, the shadows following, their footsteps eerily silent. The tunnel twisted and turned, the walls pulsing faster, the air growing thicker. Ahead, a door glowed with a circle symbol, but it was locked, a keypad beside it displaying 3 slots: circle, triangle, square. "We need a code," Leo said, his voice tense. The shadows were closer now, their whispers forming a chant. "Hide, seek, hide." Mia's phone buzzed, showing a cryptic hint. "The truth is in the game you watched." She froze, her mind racing back to the YouTube video, the 3 stories, Ethan, Clara, Sam. Each had faced a game, each had a symbol. But what was the truth? Sarah's eyes widened. The video of the stories, maybe they're the key. Ethan had the circle, Clara the triangle, Sam the square. Maybe that's the order. Mia nodded, her fingers trembling as she punched the symbols into the keypad. Circle, triangle, square. The door clicked and the shadows screamed, their forms dissolving into the walls. The door swung open, revealing a new chamber, this one filled with screens, each playing the YouTube video on a loop. The narrator's face stared out, its red eyes locked on Mia. "You're learning," it said, its voice no longer coming from the screens, but from inside her head. But the game is far from over. Mia, Leo, and Sarah stumbled into the chamber, the heavy door slamming shut behind them. The air was thick with a metallic tang, and the screens lining the walls flickered with the looping 3 scary Squid Game horror stories video, the narrator's red-eyed face staring out from each one. The voice echoed inside their heads, cold and taunting. "You've found the truth, but can you face it?" Mia's phone buzzed, the timer now at 13 minutes and 22 seconds, with the words hide and seek. Find the core glowing on the screen. The chamber hummed with an unnatural energy, the floor pulsing faintly beneath their feet, as if the room itself were alive. The screens replayed scenes from the video: Ethan's blood-smeared warehouse, Clara's razor-wired rope, Sam's mirrored maze. But now the characters' faces flickered, morphing into Mia's, Leo's, and Sarah's. "It's us," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling as she pointed to a screen showing her running through a maze, her reflection eyeless and distorted. "It's like the game wrote us into the stories." Mia's heart raced. "The video's controlling this," she said, her eyes scanning the chamber. In the center stood a pedestal, its surface etched with a circle, triangle, and square symbols, glowing faintly pink. Above it hovered a small, translucent orb, pulsing with the same light as the chasm from the bridge. "That's the core," she said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "We need to reach it." Leo stepped forward, but the floor shuddered, and the screens flared brighter, the narrator's voice booming. "1 hides. 2 seek. Choose your roles, or the game chooses for you." The shadows from the tunnel reappeared, their red soldier masks gleaming as they emerged from the walls, their movements jerky but deliberate. Mia's phone buzzed again, displaying player 237, hide. Players 412 and 189, seek. The shadows pointed at her, their glowing eyes narrowing. "Hide," they rasped, their voices overlapping in a chilling chorus. "No way," Leo said, grabbing Mia's arm. "We're not splitting up. That's what it wants." Sarah nodded, her face pale but determined. The shadows advanced, their footsteps silent, and the timer dropped to 12 minutes and 15 seconds. The screens flickered, showing visions of Mia running alone, her face twisted in panic as the shadows closed in. Mia's mind raced. "The game's trying to force us apart, but we beat it before by sticking together. We can do it again." She pointed to the pedestal. "We all go for the core. Together." The shadows hissed, their masks tilting as if confused, and the narrator's voice laughed, low and mocking. "Defy the rules, and the game rewrites them." The floor tilted suddenly, and the chamber rearranged itself, the walls shifting like a puzzle box. The pedestal slid backward, now surrounded by a maze of moving panels, each marked with glowing symbols. The screens showed the maze from above, its paths twisting and changing, with the core at its center. Mia's phone buzzed, updating the rules. "Reach the core. Trust your allies. Doubt and you fail." The timer ticked down, 11 minutes and 3 seconds. "We move as a unit," Mia said, stepping toward the maze. The panels shifted, revealing a path lined with circle tiles, but the mirrors embedded in them reflected distorted versions of the trio: Leo with glowing red eyes, Sarah with no face, Mia bleeding from her hands. "Ignore the reflections," Mia said, her voice firm. "They're lies." They entered the maze, the panels sliding around them, the symbols on the floor glowing green or red at random. Mia led, testing each tile before stepping, following the pattern from before: circle, circle, triangle, square. Leo and Sarah stayed close, their hands linked with hers. The shadows followed, their masks gleaming in the dim light, but they didn't attack. Yet. The narrator's voice whispered, "Doubt is your enemy. Player 237. Who do you trust?" The maze twisted, and a panel slid open, revealing a fork, 3 paths, each marked with a different symbol. The screens showed conflicting images. One path led to the core, another to avoid, the third to a room filled with red soldiers. Mia's phone buzzed, showing circle, but Sarah's showed triangle and Leo's square. "It's splitting us again," Sarah said, her voice cracking. "No, it's not," Mia said, her eyes narrowing. The video stories, they all had a trick. Ethan survived by ignoring the card's instructions. Clara won by trusting her team. Sam, he failed because he ran alone. She looked at Leo and Sarah. "We pick one path together. Circle worked before. We stick with it." Leo nodded, but Sarah hesitated, her eyes on the triangle path. "My phone says triangle," she whispered. What if it's right for me?" The shadows closed in, their whispers growing louder. "Choose, player 189, they hissed. The timer hit 9 minutes and 47 seconds. Mia grabbed Sarah's hand. "The game's messing with you. We trust each other, not the screens." Sarah swallowed hard, nodding, and they stepped onto the circle path. The panels slammed shut behind them, sealing the other paths, and the shadows screamed, their forms flickering but not advancing. The maze tightened, the walls closing in, the tiles shifting faster. Mia's phone buzzed, showing a new hint. "The core knows your fears. Face them or fall." The reflections in the mirrors grew more vivid. Mia's parents, trapped in a burning house. Leo's sister, crying in a dark room. Sarah's best friend, her face blank and eyeless. The voices begged, pleaded, accused. "You left us," they said. "You failed." Mia's steps faltered, but Leo squeezed her hand. "It's not real," he said. "Keep going." They pressed forward, the cores glow brighter now, only a few turns away. The timer read 8 minutes and 12 seconds. The shadows were closer, their masks pulsing with red light, but they still didn't attack, as if waiting for something. The maze opened into a small chamber, the pedestal now directly ahead. The core orb floated above it, its light almost blinding. But the floor between them and the pedestal was a grid of tiles, some glowing green, others red, shifting rapidly. The screens showed the trio reaching the core, but in each, one of them was missing, Mia, Leo, or Sarah, gone without explanation. "We can't trust the tiles," Leo said, his voice tense. "But we're so close." Mia studied the grid, her mind racing. The pattern, circle, circle, triangle, square. It's worked every time. She stepped onto a green circle tile, and it held. Leo and Sarah followed, but the shadows surged forward, their whispers now a deafening roar. "Doubt," they screamed. The timer dropped to 7 minutes and 5 seconds. They moved quickly, stepping in sequence, the core's light pulling them forward. But as they reached the final row of tiles, the screens flickered, and the narrator's face appeared, its red eyes boring into Mia's. "You can't have it all, player 237, it said. One must fall." The final tile, a glowing square, pulsed red. Mia's phone buzzed, showing sacrifice or fail. The shadows stopped, their masks tilted, waiting. Sarah's eyes widened. "What does it mean?" she asked, her voice shaking. Mia looked at the core, then at Leo and Sarah. "It wants us to give up on each other," she said. "But we're not playing its game." She stepped onto the red tile, bracing for the worst. The floor didn't open. Instead, the core flared and the shadows screamed, dissolving into the air. The screens went dark, and the narrator's voice fell silent. The pedestal hummed, and the core lowered, now within reach. Mia's phone timer stopped at 6 minutes and 33 seconds. A new message appeared. Core accessed. Prepare for the final game. The chamber rumbled and the walls parted, revealing a vast arena, its floor marked with a giant circle, triangle, and square. In the distance, the doll stood, its wooden form towering, its eyes glowing red. "You've come far," it said, its voice echoing. "But the game never ends." The arena stretched before Mia, Leo, and Sarah, its vast floor etched with a massive circle, triangle, and square, each symbol glowing with an eerie pink light. The air hummed with energy, thick and oppressive, like a storm about to break. The towering wooden doll loomed at the far end, its glass eyes gleaming red, its painted smile twisted into something almost alive. The screens from the previous chamber were gone, but the narrator's voice echoed through the arena, no longer confined to their phones or the walls. It was everywhere, inside their heads, cold and relentless. Welcome to the final game, players 237, 412, and 189. One choice remains. Win or vanish. Mia's phone buzzed, the timer frozen at 6 minutes and 33 seconds, but a new message pulsed on the screen. The core's truth. One must claim it. One must fall. The core orb, still clutched in Mia's trembling hands, pulsed in sync with the arena symbols, its warmth unnervingly lifelike. The shadows of the red soldiers materialized around the edges of the arena, their masks glowing faintly, silent but watching, waiting. Sarah's breath hitched, her eyes darting to the core. "What does it mean? One must fall?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the low hum of the arena. Leo's jaw tightened, his gaze fixed on the doll. "It's trying to break us again," he said. "Make us turn on each other." Mia's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of the game. The YouTube video, the stories of Ethan, Clara, and Sam, the symbols, the tests of trust. The game had always pushed them to doubt, to sacrifice, to abandon each other. But they'd survived by defying that, by sticking together. "We're not playing by its rules," she said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "We all claim the core. Together." The doll's head tilted, its red eyes narrowing. "Defiance has a price," it said, its voice dripping with menace. The arena rumbled, and the floor began to shift, the giant symbols breaking apart into a grid of tiles, some glowing green, others red, just like the maze. The core in Mia's hands pulsed faster, its light casting long shadows that danced with the red soldiers. The timer on her phone flickered, resetting to 5 minutes. A new instruction appeared: place the core in the center. Choose the claimant. In the middle of the arena, a pedestal rose from the floor, its surface etched with the intertwined symbols. The path to it was a twisting maze of tiles, shifting and changing, some sinking into the floor, others rising to form barriers. The red soldiers stepped forward, their movements jerky, their masks gleaming as they formed a loose circle around the trio. "Choose," they rasped in unison, their voices echoing the doll's. One claimant. One victor. Mia looked at Leo and Sarah, their faces pale but resolute. "We don't choose," she said, her voice loud enough to carry over the hum. "We all go." She held up the core, its light flaring, and took a step toward the pedestal, testing a green circle tile. It held. Leo and Sarah followed, their hands linked with hers, forming a chain. The red soldiers hissed, their eyes glowing brighter, but they didn't move to stop them. The maze shifted, the tiles rearranging to block their path. Mia's eyes scanned the grid, recognizing the pattern from before: circle, circle, triangle, square. "Follow the sequence," she said, stepping onto the next green tile. The core pulsed in her hands, its warmth spreading up her arm, almost comforting, but she didn't trust it. The game had lied before, and the mirrors in the previous rooms had shown her enough to know it thrived on deception. The doll's voice boomed. "The core demands a price. One must fall." The tiles ahead flashed red, and the pedestal sank slightly, the path to it narrowing. The red soldiers moved closer, their shadows stretching across the floor, their whispers weaving into the narrator's voice. "Doubt, player 237. Doubt your allies. Claim the core alone." Mia's heart pounded, but she tightened her grip on Leo and Sarah. "Ignore it," she said. "We're stronger together." They moved forward, stepping in sync: circle, circle, triangle, square. The tiles held, but the arena shook, and the red soldiers surged forward, their masks now inches from the trio. Sarah gasped, stumbling, but Leo caught her, pulling her back onto a green tile. The timer dropped to 3 minutes and 45 seconds. The pedestal was close now, its glow matching the cores. But the final stretch of tiles was a chaotic mix of red and green, the pattern breaking apart. The doll's eyes flared, and the screens reappeared, floating above the arena, showing the YouTube video again. The narrator's face filled every screen, its red eyes locked on Mia. "You watched," it said. "You chose this. Now finish it." Mia's mind flashed to the video's stories. Ethan defying the card, Clara trusting her team, Sam failing alone. "The truth," she whispered, realization dawning. "The core's truth is us. It's not about winning. It's about surviving together." She looked at Leo and Sarah. "We place it together. No claimant. No sacrifice." The red soldiers screamed, their forms flickering, and the tiles ahead stabilized, forming a clear path of green symbols. The trio ran, the core burning in Mia's hands, the timer at 2 minutes and 12 seconds. They reached the pedestal, and Mia hesitated, the narrator's voice pounding in her head. One must fall. But she shook it off, placing the core on the pedestal with Leo and Sarah's hands over hers. The arena exploded in light, the core flaring so brightly it blinded them. The red soldiers dissolved, their screams fading into static. The doll's wooden form cracked, its eyes dimming, and the screen shattered, fragments dissolving into the air. The narrator's voice fell silent, replaced by a low hum that vibrated through the floor. The pedestal sank, and the core pulsed one final time, before going dark. The arena faded, the walls melting away, and Mia, Leo, and Sarah found themselves standing in Maggie's diner, the neon sign buzzing outside, the jukebox playing softly. The pink card was gone, their phones blank, the timer vanished. Carol, the waitress, looked up from the counter.